Hey everybody, my name is Russ. That is Lauren. Welcome to our Sunday vinyl video. And we did a video last week on a Prince reissue that we picked up recently. And then I said we had a couple more videos coming on stuff that we kind of found out in the wild. This particular band, the Moody Blues, and I should preface this by saying I have absolutely nothing against the Moody Blues in any way, shape, or form. As a kid, as a little kid, I knew precisely one thing about the Moody Blues, Nights in White Satin.
Yep.
When I got into my teenage years, I was over at a friend's house one time and I heard Tuesday Afternoon playing, like just across the house. And I was like, oh, good God. What? Like at the time we had all just gotten into Pink Floyd and stuff. And I was like, God, that's that's great. Like in the vein of Floyd. What is this? And he's like, it's the Moody Blues. And I was like, but where? And he was like, it's on Days of Future Past. And I was like, no, that's the album with Nights in White Satin. And he's like, no, this is on there too. And I was like, what? So having said that, that's where my Moody Blues education stopped.
Sure.
And I think a lot of people think of them as the Days of Future Past guys. So I don't think I'm alone on that. However, when I had the good fortune of meeting this fine young lady right here, she would play for me a lot of Moody Blues that I had never heard before. Late 70s, early 80s, mid 80s, even.
Mid is where,
And nothing I heard was I ever like, oh, I can see why I never bothered to listen to this. You know what I mean? Like it was all good stuff.
Yeah.
Even there's some songs that are like almost poppy. And I liked a lot. So we have in our collection, and I don't think we've covered it yet, but we have like a best of Moody Blues that we found somewhere that covers pretty much everything before. I think when you found that record, you were like, this is everything but the 80s stuff that I want, So the other day we were in a chain place that a lot of towns have called Second and Charles, which I am pretty sure that the person who sets their vinyl prices does comedy on the side. He must. He's all like, so anyways, airports. And also, this record's $45. It's insane how bad their prices are. So whenever we're in there, it's usually like we're looking at other things. And I almost always say something like, oh, let's go laugh at the record prices.
Yep.
However, tell the good people what happened to us this one day.
I was flipping through the $10 and under bin.
Yeah, which is usually just a place where a tumbleweed rolls by.
Yeah, I was like flipping through a whole bunch.
There's like a decent amount of stuff in it for once.
Yeah, there was. I mean, there was a good amount of stuff. Most of it, I was like, it didn't interest me at all. But then this Moody Blues album was in there, and I was like, there was no price sticker on it.
Right. So at first it was like, oh, this is going to be under $10. And then it was like, you were going to get to the register and they're going to be like, the comedy guy did that. It's $55.
Yeah, there's no way. So I picked it up because I love this album. This actually was the very first. This album was my introduction to the Moody Blues.
Oh, right on.
Because my parents really loved this album in college, and so they got it on CD and we'd listen to it in the car a whole lot. So this was the Moody Blues.
We've talked about this on the channel before, and I don't want to derail too much, but Tango in the Night was my introduction to Fleetwood Mac. Heart, the self-titled record, was a lot of people were like, by and large, my introduction to Aerosmith was Permanent Vacation. So you get a lot of people who are like, it's not really Aerosmith, but that's what I heard first, right?
Sure.
So you go with what you know.
Right, yeah. And so then,
or what you hear first.
So then I enjoyed this, and then I ended up getting the best of Moody Blues for myself, which covers, the 60s, 70s, and all that on and on.
I think I know what CD you're talking about. There was a compilation CD back then I remember the cover of.
Yep. So yeah, I loved this. So I saw this and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the thing. So we got in line. And I'm standing there thinking, I'm not walking out of here with this record.
Yeah, I figured there was no way.
Then I look at the girl and I'm like, this is in the $10 and under bin. Is that true? And she scanned it and she goes, yep, $8.
Yeah, So that's stellar. But I did look up what it's supposed to cost and so on. So we'll talk about that as we get toward the end of the video. Now, I should say usually because of my past with record collecting, I usually get to say, okay, I've heard an original and I've heard the reissue, and here's what I think. For many reasons, I had never heard an original pressing of this. And the one that we are talking about that we found was the reissue, the 180 gram reissue. So everything we're going to talk about and the pictures you're going to see are all from that reissue. Neither of us have ever heard an original pressing. So all of these opinions are going to be strictly on the reissue that's out there. Packaging, the first thing that surprised me, I mean, I didn't look at it closely. I didn't expect it to be a gatefold, which I thought was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about the package? Like, having only ever seen the CD as a kid, what do you think about the packaging on the vinyl?
I mean, I think the packaging on the vinyl makes complete sense. I recall correctly, the packaging on the CD didn't have much to it.
I mean, probably not.
It was literally just like, the little booklet wasn't even a booklet. It was just what the gatefold
like
looked like.
open.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
So,
I've seen people pull that maneuver with CDs. It's weird, but it happens.
yeah, that was it. That was it.
You figure you at least get lyrics and stuff in a CD.
It was just like, this is it, just bigger.
Yeah. It's probably a faithful reprint of what. Sound-wise, now, going into this, all I had heard off the record is the first song on the album, which I liked a lot. And as soon as that started, I was like, oh my. Like, I know it sounds pretentious and audiophile-ish to say the word soundstage, but soundstage is a big deal to me. The wider something sounds to me, the more, like when I was a kid, and before I even knew any audiophile terms or what the soundstage meant, I always loved putting on records like Van Halen because of the way they were mixed. And if you were sitting in front of the stereo, it sounds like Van Halen sitting in front of you. And let me tell you what, the soundstage on this, the first song alone, I was like, I almost lifted it up and started the record over to hear it again. Like, I was blown away.
Yeah.
Now, you have heard the rest of the album on CD. So what do you think the CD sound versus the...
I mean, this was a whole different experience. I was picking, like, because I knew this I knew this album from like start to finish, like at the back of my hand, blah, 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 blah. And then I'm picking out things. I was like, I never heard that before. Just different sounds. And I mean, for this is such it's an early 80s pop prog rock thing.
Yeah, the production on it, it puts itself right around
it's
83,
when it
84.
is.
Yeah.
But like,
not in a bad way.
No, in a great way. And like, you could definitely hear that in this format more than I'd ever heard it before.
Yeah. We were cooking dinner while we were playing it. There was a lot of stuff where you were like doing things. You were like, oh, and I was like, what? And you're like, there was a thing I'd never heard. And you're not going to explain the whole song to me to be like, well, there was never a thing there before. But that happened a lot where you're like, oh, there was just another thing I'd never heard, which is great. Price, we paid $8. It's awesome. It's a good value. Thanks for watching. And as we always say, but we got a steal on this. Now, I did look it up. Normally, this would run between $25 and $30.
Hey-o.
I think it's still a great deal.
Yeah. Oh, I'd pay that for it. And like, I guess, one of the things we sort of talk about is this was my introduction to the Moody Blues, right? I think it's a good introduction to the Moody Blues because it puts them
I'd agree.
where they were as a band with like a decade and a half before that. You know what I mean? So it's a good place to start from and then look back if like they're not a group that you'd really been into.
Yeah, or if you had heard like Nights in White Satin and you were like, not so much. Like,
it's good, yeah. And it gives you a reason to fill in some of the 70s because they've got a good 70s output too. But what I'm getting at is I feel like this is a really good introduction to the group. So, if you can find it for $8. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, if you can find it for $8, if you have a second in Charles near you, go see if they have it for $8. But as we talk about in every video, like we just want to share our opinion on the records that we bought. If you're a Moody Blues fan and you happen to love this record or whatever, it's not just talking about the vinyl. Like, leave a comment, let us know what you think of the album itself, or if you've never even heard it, like I hadn't, take a listen to it. Let us know what you think of it. Please, if this is your first time here, of course, we always say hit the the subscribe button, but the notification bell matters as much or more as well because we put out so many videos, and people will literally tweet at us and be like, the algorithm just served up video. I didn't even know you guys were still putting videos out. And I'm like, yeah, 3 every week. So the notification bell does matter. So please hit that if you would, please. Once again, that is Lauren. My name is Russ. And as we always say, thank you so much for watching.